I paid 3 designers to design the same logo. Let's see how they did. This video is brought to you by Design Bro. The logo that we got them to design was for a drinks company. It is a 0% alcohol rum, so just complete non-alcoholic rum, called Bonnie's Bounty. Here's the brief. The idea is to create a non-alcoholic drink that helps celebrate your fearless deeds with your mates, releasing your inner pirate. From the famed pirate and Bonnie's elusive stash, this non-alcoholic rum packs a fruity smoke-flavoured punch while still keeping the senses sharp. If you want to see the full brief, the rundown of everything, click the link in the description. We've asked for a logo design and the mock-ups of this because one of the most important parts of this process is to have a bottle that has a hook for the cap or the cork bit. Make it very piratey. The first one is DejanG. Let's see how he did. Okay, this is very pirate-like. I like what's going on here. For drinks companies, it's super important to have a clear, identifiable typeface that speaks to the brand, and I think this one hits the point exactly. It looks like it's a typeface out of a movie poster, or like the logo of, Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that. It's a very simple design. I don't know how they did it. They might have just created a font. We're going to see in a second how they created it, but my first impressions are I like it a lot just based upon the choice of type they've used and the fact that it looks old. It doesn't look clean and modern. It's important for a designer to look at the brief and to identify key parts of it, and I think this has done that exactly. What we have is the skulls for the O's. I like the skulls. They work really well. As an icon, it might work a bit better being on top of here, but again, this is going to be packaged on somewhere, so there's a lot of room for changing this design without alienating the whole aesthetic. So for instance, if this is on a bottle like this, the icon, which is these skulls, which is very cliche, but you have to be in some areas, could be on top, and these could just be the normal O's depending on where you're putting it, right? For instance, on the bottle cap or underneath the cork, you could have this imprinted there. It could be cool. And here is the mock-up, the actual bottle itself. This looks very pirate-esque. If you were to walk past this on an aisle, this is how I'm thinking. If you were to walk past this on an aisle, going down the liquor store or whatever, this would definitely grab your attention, having this deadly hook on the end of the bottle. You can see here, you didn't use the icon, so you didn't use the skull and crossbones, but you used the compass, which is indicative of a pirate too, and you've got the atlas in the background. I like that. It's all very cliche, but it works. Sometimes in design, I think we always try to be unique when reality is that being unique doesn't mean good. Original doesn't always mean better. You can have the most original thing that doesn't work. Sometimes just doing what people understand a project to be or understand something to be is the best way to do it. It's a great mock-up and it really does sell the idea. I like the little tag here. That's pretty nice. The packaging is important for the brand itself. That's how people are going to understand the brand, not just the logo, but the packaging around it. And the gold on there is nice, shiny and reflective, again showing it's more for a pirate. Also the big 0 there, I like that. Did anyone else notice that? There's a huge 0 in the background, which again I should have seen at the start. Very cleverly done. So yeah, hit the nail on the head. I like that one. Nice one. DejanG actually filmed their process, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. They're just showing all the way through how they created the 0% part. I like it. It's got the sort of sword in there. Again, indicative of the skull and crossbones going on. So yeah, he's using a typeface called Freebooter. Works really well, and he's got the vintage vibe going on here too, which is nice for alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic them. Any in the drinks industry, vintage modern always works. The second designer I paid was Alice. Let's see what she did. Okay, wow, this is a completely different direction to the last one. It's very handcrafted. If you notice, it's not as readable, but it is still legible for what it does. And I quite like this. It takes advantage of the bottle's silhouette when it's shown, because a bottle's kind of like portrait, if that makes sense. So it takes advantage of the tallness by having this typography going up. Now, the story behind Bonnie's Bounty is that there was this pirate called Anne Bonny, so it's very indicative of this female pirate. And I like that you've actually made it personal to her by getting an illustration in there. It seems very dark on the logo, but again, with these drinks companies, you've got to have the logo to work on the packaging where the logo will mostly be seen, which is on the bottle. Composition wise, you've done a great job. You've kept the old style feeling here, and I can't really complain too much, aside from the fact that it seems very cluttered at the moment, but that could just be me as this corporate designer. Just looking at the typeface and how well it works together. You see the O here, very ornate, very unique view to see this in a shop. So here we go, Bonnie's Bounty. Again, it's gold. I like that. Gone for the ornate approach. You've gone more minimalist and less piratey here, but I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense for rum. I like the bottle number because it is only 1,700 bottles of these made, which is the time period from Anne Bonny. Clearly showing it's non-alcoholic in small writing. You've got the anchor there, then all the nautical stuff going on. It's really cool to see it in its gold form here, fully on the packaging. You would think that whenever I teach logo design, I'm always saying keep it simple. But when it comes to designs like this, for this process, like a drinks company, making it more ornate actually pops it out. And that's what people are looking for in these drinks. They're looking for the eyes to see it first. And this is a great job of that with the gold again. Infused with the true pirate spirit. I like that a lot. Now, I'm not sure about the blue color, the navy blue. It doesn't really make much sense to me. I would have chosen something more of a red, like a dark red or a brown to go with the bottle. But again, it is still within the color combination. It just makes it seem slightly more of a gin instead of a rum. I like the typeface you've used down here for rum. Everything seems ornate, very well designed and placed. Again, taking advantage of that long bottle. That's cool. Okay, so this is actually hand-lettered type, and we can see the process here of her doing this. She's gone ahead and sketched it out, and she's bringing it into Illustrator. And as you notice, this is something that I teach all the time. When creating a logo type, use the same thickness, copy elements across. You can see when she creates the first N, she essentially copies the thickness of the downstroke across again. That's what gives the repetition and consistency throughout the design. Beautifully done. Oh, and you drew Bonnie as well. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. It's all bespoke. Something very rare nowadays, because there's so many places where you can buy assets that you very rarely see people bespokely creating the type and the illustrations. And the anchor, done in Procreate, very nice. I love it. So that was Alice. Well done, that's unreal. I think that's my favorite so far. I'm excited to see the next one. Before I go into the last one, I do want to thank the sponsor of this video, the guys that made this happen, DejanG. Unlike every other crowdsourcing marketplace that you see, DejanG are a bit different. They only bring in the top designers. You don't just get to go in and start designing for people. They bring in the top and they select the designers from their work. But not only that, you can also work one-to-one with just a graphic designer of your choice on DejanG as well. Honestly, we've done a few videos with DejanG looking at different brands and seeing how designers create the logo based on our proposals and our briefs. And I've never been disappointed. I've always been pleasantly surprised. So if you'd like to check out DejanG for either your business or if you're a designer and would like to get vetted, click the link down below. You will not regret it. And the last designer was Thio. Let's see what he did for Bonnie's Bounty. Okay, now this is vintage. I like this. This is right up my street. We've got the wave in the typography here. By wave, I mean the type style, the setting of it is set in this sort of wave. I'm doing it with my hand, but you already know what it means. And the illustration of Bonnie there, line art, very vintage. It's supposed to look a bit rustic and not too fine detailed. It gives that air of it being made about 100 or 200 years ago. If you know me, I do a lot of hand lettering and I post it on Instagram. I love vintage typography. I've made tons of vintage logo types for companies from around the world, and this is something that is dear to my heart, so I feel like I can critique this pretty well. First of all, it's clear and you can read it easily, which is different from the other designs where it's very ornate. If we look at the other designs that we had, such as Alice's one here, it looks amazing, but it's very ornate, so there's a trade-off there. I'm not saying that's a negative, it's just a trade-off. But with this one here, again, it was just a typeface that he's used, and again, it looks very cinematic, like a pirate-themed film, which works, but it might be a bit too cliche, too piratey. However, here we've got quite a simplistic, non-ornate vintage design, something that looks like it was made before the 1920s. One thing I would like to sort out with this is I think there's a few kerning errors in here, ever so slight, but it's very difficult to fix because it is on this wave, and it also accentuates issues. I love the texture that you've used here. The texture is very nice, makes it feel like it's on a barrel. I'm interested to see how this design will fit on a bottle. The problem that we have, that I'm seeing, is it's very top heavy. It's not balanced enough. So I'm assuming that this is going to have a lot of assets, like design assets down here, to balance it out on the bottle. And just like that, I knew it would come up. Fits a lot nicer. Again, you've used gold. We've got the same bottle of rum. It would have been nice to see one that was wooden, because there was a lot of barrels and wooden things that, wooden ship. But I know it's probably not possible. So we've got the pirate hook at the top. Yarr. And we've got, again, blue, gold and black, which seems to be the indicative colours. Yeah, I like this a lot. It feels very premium to me, this one. Bonnie's Bounty, the actual name is clearly stamped. It's so important to be able to walk past it and read it clearly. The only issue that I have is that it's very wide and not very tall. What I liked about Alice's design is that because it was tall, it was very concise. You could read it very quickly. And I know Bonnie's Bounty is quite a long logo type. If you've ever worked for a client and they've got a long name, then you know how the struggle's there, because it doesn't fit very well across branding purposes. Normally you create an icon. However, that's mitigated by the actual illustration up here. It feels like this design has just been sort of gently rebranded or gently refined over a few hundred years. It feels kind of like that characteristic, which is what I like. The other designs, although very good, they felt like they've just been made. This one feels like it's just been at home for a while, that it's already on the shelf. And that's because you've used imperfection to create the design, and I like that. You see this? It's not perfect, but it's just there, and that's what gives it its charm. Premium quality at the top, very nicely balanced. I was a bit worried about the top to bottom size heaviness, and yet the bottom right is a bit too heavy for me, but that's very difficult to overcome unless you were to add more stuff up here, but you've got to have stuff for the arm there, assets here. The zero alcohol button is nicely placed to the left, and it's clear that it is zero alcohol. That's quite important for a lot of people. Not much else I can say other than I really like it. It's quite bottom heavy, so if you just squint your eyes and look at this right now, you'd see that it's very bottom heavy. You've got the flat blue color at the bottom, which, is going to start adding more of an emphasis on your eyes. It adds more detail. Does it fit the brief? I think so. I think every single one of these has fit the brief. Now, I've got the hard decision of choosing one that I think is the best. I don't think the first one was the best, simply because although it was very indicative of a pirate, it had nothing personal of Bonnie, the actual pirate that we're talking about. It needed to be personal and have a story centered around her. Every brand and every company, no matter if it's a drink, has to have a story centered around it. And if there isn't one, then there's a problem, because there's nothing to personalize it for the person who's taking on the brand, the customers and the investors. This was very much cliche pirate, which is okay. That's okay, but it felt more like, a pirate movie than a pirate drink or Bonnie's drink. The second one, I liked it a lot. The only problem that I had was that it wasn't very readable. It was legible, but readability was difficult because of the typography. However, that is mitigated completely because it worked really well on the bottle. It's very unique. You don't see this amount of ornate design in the lettering on most bottles. And also, can I just say that process, watching you create that in Illustrator it is insane. Really well done. It's superbly balanced. I like the illustration of Bonnie, but the problem is it wasn't very seen on the bottle. I would have liked to have this in gold as well. And it looked a bit too modern. The brief was to show the story, essentially from Bonnie's perspective, that this is her bounty. This is her rum. However, being slightly modern isn't a bad thing. It might fit better towards the new markets that we have now for drink. Now, the last guy, Thio. Now, the only reason why I think Thio's is the best is for the clarity that he has. You can easily read Bonnie's Bounty on there. There is an image of Bonnie on there that looks old. It feels like the company wasn't made now. It feels like it's old. It's not too simple and it's not too ornate, which is a great balance to have. And yes, it is slightly bottom heavy in composition, but Again, this one just seems to work the best for me. But it doesn't even matter which I think is the best design, because you can use the link down below in the description to go and vote for your favorite one. And if you haven't already, press the subscribe button down below. Join the team. We're a design channel. Essentially, we create content to help you become a better creative professional, to make you more money, and to get better at graphic design. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, share this with your friends. It helps us out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you soon. Goodbye.